I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory Tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. Moving on, in the Grade 3 Discovering Music Theory workbook, we move on to exercise 5, where we're asked to complete the time signatures for each of these melodies. And so the thinking's done for us, and we could very easily find the answer by just looking at the simple, most obvious bar. However, let's squeeze every opportunity for learning here, and we're going to look at every single bar just to make sure we've thoroughly grasped how these note divisions work together. Just getting our maths brain going a little bit. We're looking in crotchet beats. The bottom number 4 means we're counting in crotchet beats, and we need to find out how many crotchet beats per bar. This bar will tell us quite simply. So a quaver plus a quaver is a crotchet, a quaver plus a quaver is a crotchet, 2 crotchet beats per bar. That could be the end of that, but let's just use it to find these other bars just so we're super duper sure on how to work out these note divisions. And also it can just be a double check to make sure we've not gone wrong, I guess. So quaver plus quaver equals crotchet. And we know that 4 semiquavers, if that's a crotchet beat, divided into quarters, 4 semiquavers gives us a crotchet beat, so 1, 2. This is not a complete bar, so we don't count this. Now here we've got a crotchet beat here. And here we have, let's just divide this out. So if this is a crotchet beat, and we'll divide it into eighths, which are our demisemiquavers. So we have a semiquaver, first of all. That's a quarter of the beat. The dot is half as much again, so there's an eighth. And then there's a demisemi, there's the remaining eighth. So that's half, so there's 1 quaver beat. And then we have a semiquaver, which is a quarter of a beat. Half as much again is an eighth, and then there's our demisemi, which is an eighth, and we can see that's indeed 1 crotchet beat, and that's why it's beamed to show 1 whole crotchet beat. So we can see beat 1, beat 2, beat 1, beat 2, beat 1, beat 2. So that's easily recognisable once we know how those groups are going to be working together, showing the beaming. It shows how important it is to beam things correctly. So again, we're counting in crotchet beats. So we've got 1 crotchet beat here, and then let's just kind of do the maths here. So let's divide this into eighths. There's our demisemiquavers. We've got a quaver, which is half of the beat gone. And then half as much again gives us a quarter, so that's 3/4 of a beat now. And then we have 2 demisemis, which are an eighth each, and then we can see that's definitely a crotchet beat. So we can see we've got beat 1, beat 2, 2 crotchet beats per bar. Let's do the same again here. We know that 2 demisemis are worth 1 semiquaver. 2 demisemis worth 1 semiquaver with a quaver, and so we know that a half and 2/4 gives us a crotchet beat, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 demisemis gives us a crotchet as well. So we can see there's beat 2, there's beat 1. Let's press on. So this next one's pretty busy. I think perhaps this is the easiest bar, just not to get too confused with rests and dots and so on. So we can see 4 semiquavers is worth a crotchet. 4 semiquavers is worth a crotchet. Now here 2 demisemis is the same as 1 semi in time value, so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 semiquaver beats, which is a crotchet, and then semi, semi, and then quaver, quarter of a beat, half a beat, gives us another crotchet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 crotchet beats per bar. That's enough for this question, but let's just use it to double check and get some practice in these other bars. So again, we can just diagram this out to make it easy. Then we have a crotchet beat divided into eighths. A quaver is half of a crotchet beat, so that's half of that beat gone. A dot gives it half as much again. And then 2 demisemis gives us a semiquaver. That's the remaining quarter of the beat in those 2 eighths of a beat. Quaver, quaver is crotchet, quaver, quaver is crotchet. And here, although that's a rest, that is still 4 semiquavers. 4 quarters gives us a whole. So there's a crotchet, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you can see the beaming, beat 1, beat 2, beat 1, beat 2. Let's look at this final bar. It's a complete bar, we know, because of this double bar line. So we've got a minim, which is worth 2 crochet beats. We've got 3 quarters and a quarter. That's a crochet beat. We know that 1, 2, 3, 4 demisemis is a quaver. Semi and semi is a quaver, and altogether 2 quavers is a crochet beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's correct. Now we're moving on to D, and we're counting in quaver beats now. So let's just look at this bar. Although it looks very busy, this bar and this bar are the easy ones in a sense, because we know that 4 demisemiquavers is worth 1 quaver. 4 demisemis worth 1 quaver. And it's beamed to show each quaver beat here because we're counting in units of a quaver. Now so we've got 1, 2, 3 over 8. Interestingly, in 3 over 8, the rule is you can beam everything together, but there's an awful lot of notes there. We could have all of them beamed together and just keep this one line going underneath if we wanted to, and then just keep those demisemis. So you could do it like this. And then show those divisions there, but they've put the breaks just to help us to see beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. Again, beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 1, 2, 3, they're quaver beat rests, beat 1, beat 2, 1 crotchet is 2 quaver beats, and then here a semiquaver, of course, is half of a quaver beat. And then the dot is worth half as much again, which is a demisemi. Here's a demisemi, and those two give us a semi. 2 quarters make a half. There's our quaver there. It's quite hard not to get scrambled, so just take it steady and it soon makes sense. Now here, if we just sort out what's going on here, we can see actually we get the same thing 3 times. So actually there's not too much work to be done here. So let's just have we're counting in crochet beats, so let's just have our crochet beat, and we'll divide that into eighths. So a semiquaver is a quarter of a beat. Half as much of that again is an eighth, and then there's our demisemi, which is another eighth. And then we get the same again, we get a quarter of a beat. The dot is half as much again, which is an eighth, and then our final demisemi is the eighth. So we can see that is 1 crochet beat. So there's 1. We've already done the thinking. There's beat 2. There's beat 3. Now what's going on here? Don't be confused by the triplet signs. That's 3 in the time of 2 semiquavers, 3 in the time of 2 semiquavers, and we know that 4 semiquavers gives us a crochet beat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 crochet beats in that bar. Let's look what's going on here. So we've got a minim, which is worth 2 crochet beats. Again, a triplet just means 3 quavers in the time of 2 quavers, which is a crochet. And then here, if we just diagram this out, let's give us our eighths in a crochet beat. So if we start, let's start with this one here. That gives us half of a beat straight away. So that's half of the beat gone. We've got a semi-quaver here. The dot is half as much again, so there's an eighth, and then there's our remaining eighth, and we can see that's a crochet beat. And also the fact that it's beamed shows us it's a crochet beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then finally we get another example here. We know already that's 1 crochet beat, and then we've got 3 crochet beats here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 over 4. And then finally we're counting in minim beats. We've got 1 minim beat here, 1 minim beat here. A semi-brave breaks into 2 minims. So 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2. Let's see what we've got going on here. 1. There's a minim. That's 2. There's beat 3. Now we know that quaver plus quaver equals a crochet, and then let's see what we've got here. So we'll divide this into eighths. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 demi-semis. 1, 2, 3, 4 demi-semis, which we know is a quaver, and then a semi-quaver and a semi-quaver. Or you could just break it down and think, well, I know that 4 demi-semis is 1 quaver, semi-quaver, semi-quaver is a quaver. So there's beat 1, there's beat 2, there's beat 3, there's beat 4. Quite tough work, but okay if you just take it slowly. Now we have a similar job to do. We know exactly how many beats there are in a bar, but something's missing. And in order to complete that gap, we need to add a rest. However, we may need to be careful, because remember, each new beat requires a new rest. You can't just fill in the gap. We may need to write 2 rests, because we need to complete 1 beat before we continue and show the next beat. Just as the same for the rule of beaming, that's exactly the same rule for rests. Let's see what we've got. Let's just see what we've got to begin with. So we should have 4 crochet beats per bar. So there's 1 crochet beat. There's another crochet beat. Now that's 3 in the time of 2. So that's 3 semi-quavers in the time of 2, which is 1 quaver. So with something missing here, and then we've got quaver, semi-semi, that's a crochet beat. So actually we're half a beat short, and so we can just, there's beat 1, we've got a quaver plus a quaver, that now finishes beat 2. The start of beat 2 is silence. Let's continue. Now we need 3 quaver beats per bar. So here we've got a quaver. So we should have quaver, quaver, quaver. We can't just fill what's missing. We've only got a semi-quaver, so we've actually got a semi-quaver and a quaver missing. You cannot just add, say for example, a dotted quaver rest, because we need to finish beat 1 and show the start of beat 2. So we're going to have to finish beat 1 with a semi-quaver rest. So there's beat 1, and then beat 2 is a quaver rest showing beat 2. So that's beat 1, that's beat 2, there's beat 3. So perhaps now you can try these remaining questions on your own, and then we'll check through these together. So let's just check these answers. We should have 3 crochet beats in a bar. There's 1 crochet beat. 4 semiquavers, that's another crochet beat. So there's something missing here on beat 3, isn't there? So we've got a quaver, that's half, and we know that 4 demisemiquavers make a quaver, and so we've only got 1, 2, 3, and so we're missing the start of that with an 1/8 of a beat. Now what's going on here? We should have 2 crochet beats per bar. There's beat 1. Now what have we got here? Let's just look at this in eighths. So we've got 2 semiquavers here, 2 quarters, a quarter of a beat, a quarter of a beat. We've got a quarter of a beat in that semiquaver. The dot gives us an 1/8 of a beat, so we're 1/8 of a beat missing, and so we need a demisemiquaver rest to complete that beat. Then we've got beat 1, beat 2 is now complete. Let's continue. So exercise E, we should have 3 crochet beats per bar. There's 1 crochet beat, there's another crochet beat. So this crochet beat is not complete. Let's just diagram this out. So there are 8ths. So we've got a half of a beat. So there's our quaver. And then we've got semiquaver, demisemiquaver, demisemiquaver, making 1 semiquaver. And we're a quarter of a beat missing, so we need a semiquaver rest there. Let's see what we're missing here. So we know that 4 demisemis make a quaver. We should have 3 quaver beats per bar. Now we know that there should be 1, 2, 3, 4 demisemis. We've only got 3, so we're actually a demisemiquaver beat missing. Now let's see what we've got here. We've got a semiquaver, and then the dot is worth a demisemiquaver, and there's another demisemiquaver. So the dot and this last note gives us a semiquaver, with this semiquaver gives us a quaver beat. So actually all that we're missing is the end of beat 2. This beat 3 is complete. And that's the end of that page. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.